and over $1 billion up front and up to $1 billion a year every year. The state of Illinois needs these dollars, and more importantly, we need these jobs. That's why Mayor Emanuel is supporting this. That's why the Chicago Chamber of Commerce and the Illinois State Chamber of Commerce are supporting this. And that's why I'm hoping the governor will sign the bill. And those who think we need economic development, I would urge you to call the governor's office to tell them how you feel.
Thank you. Do we have another caller? No. Okay. Okay. Then what I'd like to ask you, Representative, and thank you for that question. I mean, for that answer. That was outstanding. You are on a number of both committees and commissions in Springfield that oversee various things.
Correct.
Could you give us a review of some of these committees and what's going on in them in case people want to call your office about them, or just to inform the public of what's going on in Springfield?
Sure. I serve on two substantive committees. The first is the Judiciary Committee, where we deal with things that would involve courts and lawsuits and contracts and foreclosures, the types of things that go on in courtrooms or deal with lawyers or that type of thing.
And you are an attorney, right?
I am an attorney. I've served on that committee the entire time I've been in the Illinois General Assembly because it's one of the more interesting committees we have. We take on many things: civil rights, as I said, foreclosures, the ability of people to collect money from people that owe it and doing it in an appropriate way. Lots of different areas. I also serve on the Insurance Committee, and it won't surprise anyone to know that we deal with insurance issues on the Insurance Committee, and we're going to be faced with some insurance issues as a result of the United States Supreme Court's decision on the federal mandate on health care, the Obamacare as it's called. I also serve on the House Rules Committee, which is a small but very important and powerful committee. This committee determines what bills we actually vote on in the Illinois House. Some bills never get out of the Rules Committee, and the Rules Committee makes a determination as to what bills will get to a substantive committee and eventually to the floor. I serve also on a committee called the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, which is a very lightly understood committee. This is a group of 12 legislators, 3 from each of the 4 legislative caucuses, who review every rule issued by a state agency to determine if it's a good rule, if it's a valuable rule, and if it complies with the law. So that group meets every month for many hours to go over dozens and dozens monthly of proposals by state agencies that reinterpret the law, cut rates, and that type of thing.
Can I ask one thing on that?
Sure.
I mean, most legislation that passes needs rules to be implemented, right? So
many do. Legislators that understand that they don't want to submit a bill to the rules process are better off defining the rule before it gets there.
Okay.
But sometimes it's impossible to do. So quite a few of the bills eventually have to be defined and redefined and directed by a state agency that would be in charge of the that bill, and eventually there's a rule. I also serve on the Legislative Ethics Commission, which is an interesting place to be because at a time where we're trying to make sure that legislators and government officials live up to their oath of office and not cheat and not lie and not be unethical, it's my job on that committee, along with 7 other members, 2 from each caucus, to determine if charges made against given legislators for violating their oath of office are charges that should be pursued in terms of discipline, or if they do not rise to that level. So I've been pretty busy in Springfield.
Yeah.
I also serve as the Deputy Majority Leader of the Illinois House, and I serve as the Democratic Floor Leader in the Illinois House. And if you ever come to Springfield, you'll hear me talking a lot on the House floor.
Right. You have a number of roles, both in the legislature and in the Democratic Party, I believe.
I do. I'm the elected Democratic Committeeman of Niles Township.
Okay.
I've also been elected by all the 80 Democratic Committeemen in Cook County to be the Executive Vice Chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party. So I'm busy politically as well as legislatively.
Yeah, you wear numerous hats.
I do.
Yes, yes. I believe we have another caller. So caller, may we have your question or your comment for Representative Lang, please?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know, you were just talking about the Ethics Committee, and I wanted to know how much power does the Ethics Committee have? Do you have the power to remove someone from office? Can you kind of go over the different, I don't know, I guess, disciplinary actions that could possibly happen to someone?
Thank you for the question. We can make recommendations to do many things, but if it rises to level of possible expulsion, other steps have to be taken. Many of you may be aware now that there are charges against a sitting state representative named Derek Smith in the federal court, which have led to a special committee being formed in the Illinois House of Representatives to determine whether there are the necessary levels of proof to determine whether he should be expelled from his office. As it happens, that's a separate committee from the Legislative Ethics Commission, but as it happens, that's a committee where I have been asked to actually, in essence, be the prosecutor against Mr. Smith in that committee. So I won't comment on the specific charges because that would be inappropriate. But it's an interesting place for me to be, and I will discharge my duty as required.
Right, thank you. And you were involved at some level in the Blagojevich charges that went against him in the House, right?
In the Blagojevich matter, recall before he was impeached by the Senate, he had to be charged by the House.
Right, so it was the
and
charge.
There was a bipartisan committee in the House created upon which I served. And during that process, I became the chief questioner of Mr. Blagojevich's attorneys about Mr. Blagojevich's activities.
Okay.
It was an unfortunate time in Illinois government, and it was not fun, but it may be one of the more important things I've done because it's important to do our best to restore integrity to Illinois government.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I believe, before we take the next caller, I just want to take a moment to again remind everyone that they are watching Political Forum, which is a community service of CAN TV. And my name is Jill Zwick. I'm a board member here at CAN TV, and I am here interviewing Representative Lou Lang of the 16th Legislative District. And our phone number is 312-738-1060. Now I believe we have another caller. So caller, may we have your question or your comment for the representative, please?
Yes, to continue the conversation on the gambling expansion bill, you say that it's good for Illinois, bringing jobs and good for the economy. What, in your opinion, Representative Lang, is the holdup on the bill?
Thank you for the question. I wish we had more than the few minutes we have left. I could go on a long time. The current holdup, after working very hard to find the necessary votes in the House and the Senate, is the governor of the state of Illinois. And let me hasten to say he's a governor I support. He's a governor of my party. He's a governor who's doing very well in many areas. But he seems to have a blind spot on this bill. Virtually each week he's had a different answer as to why he doesn't want to sign the bill. Currently, his answer is that it doesn't have enough ethical standards in the bill to satisfy him. He's yet to really define what that means. And I have asked any number of times to the governor directly, if he would just give me a piece of paper, tell me what he wants, I'll try to make it happen. He hasn't done that, and therefore I can't just guess at what it is he wants. He has spent some time talking about prohibition of campaign contributions from people in the gaming industry. I told him I believe it's unconstitutional to pick out one and only one line of work and say you can't make a political donation. But nevertheless, I told the governor that if he would sign the bill, I would put it in the bill. But he wouldn't make that commitment. And so we're now waiting till the end of August as the governor determines whether or not he will sign the bill. He's indicated just this week that he's probably not going to sign the bill. So when we return to Springfield in November and early December, it'll be my job to find the necessary 3/5 vote rather than a 50% vote. I'll have to find a 3/5 vote in both the House and the Senate to override an expected gubernatorial veto. And I think I'm a good deal of the way to making that happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how close were you to 3/5 on the vote on the bill?
In the Illinois House, we are 2 votes short, but I have all the votes I need now in the Illinois House. The Senate was was not quite as easy to pass the bill as it was in the House, but I believe we have a better than even chance, excuse the pun using a gaming term, to, when we go back for veto session, finding the necessary votes to override a veto. Those who are listening who think this bill ought to become law, please call your state representatives and your state senators to give them your opinion.
Right. Or call the governor's office now also as he's deciding whether to sign the bill.
Good plan.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, we are about at the point where I need to wrap up. So I'm going to ask you if you have any comments that you'd like to make before I do close the show. Anything about when you're going back in session, or I don't know, the Medicaid, the pension, any quick summary you want to do?
Well, as people
so much.
as people know, there is a lot, and we could spend many hours just simply answering callers' questions about what happens in Springfield. I think I'd like to wrap up by urging viewers to have a better relationship with your state legislators, your House member, your Senate member. A lot of you have problems, or a lot of you have questions or concerns. Learn who your state representatives and state senators are. Get to know them so that when you walk into their office, they're glad to see you. Even if you have a lot of questions, even if you don't like a vote they took, they'll respect you for coming by to say hello. We need an involved citizenry, and this is a perfect time during the summer when legislators are home to get to know them real well. So I think that's an important thing for citizens to do.
That's a great point. Thank you so much. And you can find out who your legislators are, who all your representatives are, online. And if you don't have a computer, you can go to the library. Chicago Public Library has all kinds of computers. I know that at the Illinois State Board of Elections website, you can put in your address, and it'll tell you who all of your legislators are, from, through all of your representatives.